January 11th, 2023. I'm your host, John Bound. The In Other News podcast is brought to you by Corruption Janitor, $43.99. Buy it now. Now that we've got that out of the way, we are fools. We've sat like smug children believing what mommy and daddy have been saying all along. The problem is, mommy and daddy have been hoodwinking us for $1 billion here and $1 billion there for 152 years. Start at 1871, true U.S. history, and move forward. Meanwhile, the Mockingbird media, broken by their CIA handlers, is experiencing mental illness. Just listen to them explain why we need to get rid of our gas stoves.
You know, the science is showing us that having a gas stove in a small apartment, especially with bad ventilation, it's like having a car idling there. And if you have young kids, it can affect cognitive abilities and as well as asthma.
And then there are people like half-chest pants-wearing politician Jerry Nadler, who are rationalizing the extermination of beautiful newborn babies by saying this.
The problem with this bill is not that it makes anything, that it is not that it provides any new protections for infants. The problem with this bill is that it endangers some infants by stating that that infant must immediately be brought to the hospital, where, depending on the circumstances, that may be the right thing to do for the health and survival of that infant, or it may not. That is the problem with this bill. It directs and mandates a certain medical care which may not be appropriate, which may be endanger the life of an infant in certain circumstances.
But in other news, of course, President Biden's got the border handled. I mean, come on, man. According to the Gateway Pundit, health officials in Matamoros announced this week that at least 4 cases of malaria were detected recently in the migrant community traveling into the United States. You may recall, if you're not paying attention, that over 5 million illegals have entered the United States through the open border with Mexico since Joe Biden took office. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is doing his duty for the United States by being thanked by Mexican President Manuel Lopez, beaming with gratitude for the United States not building even 1 meter of border wall since Biden took office. And those malaria patients, well, the head of the 3rd Sanitary Jurisdiction, Gilma Denora Alsator Cortez, announced that 2 of the malaria patients were discharged and have likely crossed into the United States. So, they're heading your way, liberals. Oopsie. Classified documents I was talking about last night weren't the only ones. Joe Biden's aides found at least 1 more batch of classified documents at another location. The first batch of classified documents were found at Penn Biden Center. It's unclear when or where the second batch was discovered by Biden's aides. Since November, after the discovery of documents with classified markings in his former office, Biden aides have been searching for any additional classified materials that might be in other locations he used, said the source, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to provide details about the ongoing inquiry. The classification level, number, and precise location of the additional documents was not immediately clear. It also was not immediately clear when the additional documents were discovered, and if the search for any other classified materials Biden may have from the Obama administration is complete. I guarantee the real good ones are somewhere in Delaware. Biden aides have been sifting through documents stored at locations beyond his former Washington office to determine if there are any other classified documents that need to be turned over to the National Archives and reviewed by the Justice Department, the person familiar with the matter, said. And continuing on the spotlight on those being treated like they're in Guantanamo Bay, yet they were following the Declaration of Independence. Gateway Pundit reported, I am treated poorly, harassed, and physically abused. J6er Todd Gardner writes open letter after D.C. courts delay hearings for 7 months. Biden has doubled, tripled, and even quadrupled his attack on those languishing for the January 6th ruse. According to CNN, the bloated omnibus budget Biden signed last month from a billionaire donor's vacation villa in St. Croix includes $2.6 billion for U.S. attorneys, including funding efforts to further support prosecutions related to the January 6th attack on the Capitol and domestic terrorism cases, $11.3 billion to the FBI, including for efforts to investigate extreme violence and domestic terrorism, and $39 billion for the Justice Department to do the very same thing. So, roughly $53 billion to continue to torture the political prisoners of January 6th. And to prepare for the deluge of new cases coming down the pike, Biden is putting more liberal justice warriors on the bench than any president since John F. Kennedy, completely remaking the lower courts, as usual using weirdly racist and sexist benchmarks. Speaking of money, the Epic Times has this. The IRS announced it sent out 12 million refunds, totaling nearly $15 billion, after making corrections to taxes that were filed in 2020, a.k.a. they screwed the pooch. The agency said it reviewed Forms 1040 and 1040-SR from the 2020 tax year that were filed before March 2021, or when the American Rescue Plan was signed into law. It excluded up to $10,200 in 2020 unemployment compensation. Other corrections that were made by the agency included adjustments to the Earned Income Tax Credit, Recovery Rebate Credit, Additional Child Tax Credit, American Opportunity Tax Credit, Premium Tax Credit, and Advanced Tax Credit. Some 14 million tax returns were corrected by the IRS, resulting in about 12 million refunds totaling $14.8 billion. Here we go. Moderna CEO announces new mRNA shot for heart failure patients to help them grow back new blood vessels. What did P.T. Barnum say? There's a sucker born every minute. And a pigeon with a backpack full of meth was just discovered in a prison yard. A pigeon was caught by Canadian authorities after it was discovered that the pigeon had A pigeon was caught by Canadian authorities after it was discovered the pigeon had a backpack full of crystal meth. The bird was found in the prison yard at the Pacific Institution Correctional Facility in Vancouver, Canada. John Randall, who serves as the Pacific Regional President of the Union of Canadian Correctional Officers, stated, the pigeon that was captured by correction officers was carrying a miniature backpack with 30 grams of crystal meth. Apparently, later an argument was heard between two cellmates. One said to the other,
so right now, what I need is for you to climb down out of my ass. Can you do that? Will you do that for me, honey? Will you please? Just once. Get off my ass. You know, I'd appreciate it. I really would.
I want to wish a fond farewell to Jeffrey Arnold Beck, born June 24, 1944, died yesterday. Jeff Beck was a true artist. He wasn't just a guitar player. You have to take it all in. I'll leave that up to you, but in the words of one of his songs, The Revolution will be televised. You can watch it in HD and talk like a weekend warrior from the safety of your settee. The graphics won't be as realistic as Grand Theft Auto 3. Guess that makes the wheel unwheelable, but this shit is real, baby. Guess you better turn the volume down so you can't hear their plea. Suppose you better change the channel, might put the children off their tea. The revolution will be televised. You can choose to watch or not. But if we all just talk from the safety of our sofas, there won't be much of a revolution to watch. And this has been The Revolution on your podcast radio dial. You can find us at John Bound Politics on Spotify, John Bound Politics on Twitter, Newsbound on Twitter, John Bound Politics on YouTube, and always at thedailynewscollective.com. I'm posting the podcasts on the front page now. Just punch it in and you're there. From the sovereign nation of Texas, this has been John Bound with another news for January 11th, 2023. Good night, America, wherever you are.